Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, police in South Carolina are looking for two thieves who stole nearly $1 million in sunglasses.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Just stay cool, lay low until the heat blows over, right? That's how we do it.
You know, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? You go to Sunglass Hut and say, I'm ready to deal? What do you do? I mean, how do you launder that? What is that?
And if I wear these, nobody sees the bags under my eyes. But I think what I would do is I would write Maui Jim on all of the sunglasses and try and sell them secondhand for about $300 each. That's what I would try to do. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Djokovic beats Alcaraz. The ACC considers alternatives for its championship game. And Jeff Saturday joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Ohio State winning the national championship by scoring 28 points in a row in around 16 minutes, and then holding off Notre Dame in the fourth quarter after the Irish had cut the lead to 8. The final score was 34-23 and justified most people picking Ohio State to win. Wilbon, what did you make of the Buckeyes winning and how they did it?
Tony, I mean, my thoughts are, I guess, pretty straightforward and simple about this. Ohio State is the team that most people thought was the better team, thus the odds and the feeling through most of the country, except in and around Indiana and Notre Dame land, when that's pretty big, that Ohio State would win and win convincingly. So there's that thought. But also, I thought Notre Dame played damn well. And Ohio State's just better. And I know that Notre Dame doesn't want to accept that. I get it. They're a school where championships are thought they should be won. And Coach Freeman, I mean, his angst, I felt for him. And he said, this is on my shoulders. There's nothing on your shoulders but glory and honor. You and your team brought it. You hung in there against a better team. All these shows and all these experts, nobody ever wants to say anymore, that team's better. Ohio State's better. They're a more talented team. Freeman knows that. He went to Ohio State. He has to know that, yet he fought. He convinced his team at halftime, no, we're not done here. So to me, Notre Dame, I know there are no moral victories, except they covered themselves in glory as a bystander, as somebody watching the game. And Ohio State's better. And, I mean, that whole outfit after losing to Michigan, what they did to rally themselves and what that staff did right up through last night, they're to be commended. They're the champs. That's the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Ohio State dominated when the game needed to be dominated by them. They were like a snow squall. They kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And in that period of time, Notre Dame looked defenseless. And then Notre Dame came back. And good for them for coming back. And there were the echoes late in the game of the Rams-Eagles game on Sunday. Ohio State is indeed a better team. They really are a better team. And so it goes to a larger question here, Mike. And that question is, did we get in the first 12-team playoff a worthy champion? Because the Michigan game really wounded Ohio State. But if you take the view, from 30,000 feet, Ohio State beat Oregon when they were number 1. They beat Texas, which had been number 1. They beat Penn State, which had been number 3. They beat Tennessee, which had been number 4. Notre Dame was just number 5. And during the regular season, Indiana was number 5. That's 6 wins over top 5 teams. That is an amazing resume, right?
Great run.
And Oregon,
great season.
Oregon had beaten them. Oregon has a claim because they're the only team in the playoff that has fewer losses at the end of the season than Ohio State. And they beat Ohio State in Oregon by 1. And then Ohio State came back and crushed them. And it was 34-0 at one point. So the only team with any claim here really is Michigan, and they lost 5 games. And by the way, if you still want to fire Ryan Day, he's now 70-10. 70-10.
Tony, by the middle of November, if he loses to Michigan, there will be fools,
I want to fire him.
morons, who will be calling up sports talk radio saying you got to fire Coach Day because he came to Michigan. I mean,
that's
fans,
right.
I'm one of them. Fans are morons. That's just the deal. The ACC is already trying to figure out how to better position itself for next year's playoffs. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, my man, says one idea is to shut down the regular season champ before the conference's championship game, instead pitting the second and third place teams against each other. Another idea is to create a mini tournament among the ACC's top 4 teams. I don't know how that's going to work. Tone, what do you think of the changes that the ACC is contemplating?
I think they are truly stupid at this point, and I have a good friend who I know would call them hocus pocus junk. I mean, I don't understand how you can even contemplate pulling your regular season team winner out of the conference championship game. That is saying to the committee, our conference stinks. Because what are they going to say to the committee? Oh, please take this phony baloney team, this second place team, and make sure they're in the tournament as well. Not only that, it's an insult to the team that wins in the regular season, because you're saying to them, we're not sure that you can continue to win, so we're going to put you in bubble wrap and we're going to sit you in the corner. Jim Phillips was a long-time AD in the Big Ten, as you well know. The Big Ten wouldn't do this. Big Ten isn't scared.
Oh.
They don't do that. They're a football conference. The ACC is not a football conference. The tournament committee had total disregard for the ACC this year. I know they had 2 teams. They had Clemson, which won the final game, and then they threw a bone to SMU. But, Mike, they were seeded 11 and 12. A 12-team playoff, you can't get any lower than 11 and 12.
Yeah, but Tony, look, you mentioned Jim Phillips and my relationship with him. Yes, as Northwestern's AD. I've known Jim Phillips for 20 years. He anticipates, as well as anybody in any of the executive positions in any conference. Jim does that. And what he knows is that some school, and maybe one of his, is going to say, we don't want to play in the conference championship game. Oh, wait, Ohio State, which we just discussed, they didn't play in the Big Ten championship game. And maybe that benefited Ohio State because they didn't have to go out there and face a team, even though they might have beaten them anyway. But Jim knows this. He knows, Tony, a team is going to back out. And you have to anticipate that reaction. You have to anticipate your fan base's reaction and networks. Huh?
Why are they going to back out from a championship game when the winner gets an automatic bid?
Because they don't want to risk a loss, Tony. Tony, there were already threats of backing out. Some team is going to do it, and Jim knows that, and he's right.
Go bowling with an actual bowling ball. No, you're just defending him because he worked at Northwestern. It's hocus pocus junk.
He's smart.
Wilbon,
I'm defending because he knows what he's doing.
Yesterday, referring to the Alcaraz-Djokovic match in the quarters of the Australian Open, you said, and I'm quoting here, it's time for the old man to go home, unquote. Well, if he goes home knowing he's playing again in a day or two. Djokovic beat Alcaraz this morning in 4 sets, lost the first, then won 3 in a row. So he's going to his 12th Aussie Open semifinal, where he will play Alexander Zverev. Wilbon, what does this result tell you about Djokovic and Alcaraz?
The only person I thought about when I heard this, and I didn't watch it. I didn't watch a second of it. I thought about you, because I knew how much it will annoy you that Djokovic continues to win and continues to, if he was the GOAT by that much over Federer and Nadal yesterday, today it's that much, and he keeps widening. And if he wins another Australian Open, which would be his 11th, I think, he'd have to beat Sinner and Zverev, as you said. Tony, he's making the case he's going to run away with it as the GOAT. You hate that, but I mean, and by the way, if he winds up at the end of his career taking out Alcaraz, come on now, the best young player out there, and he took out the guys in his own career, GOAT status has to be conferred. We're encroaching upon that moment. Yeah, we are. You don't want to admit it, but we are.
No, you've been calling him the GOAT for a couple of years. I understand that. If he gets to 25, he wins this, gets to 25, it's the most ever, you will call him the GOAT because you always do. Me personally, I don't think he could have beaten Rod Laver, and I'm not sure he could have beaten Jimmy Connors because the style that Jimmy Connors had, I think, would frustrate Djokovic. But I'll move off that for a second. I appreciate how great a player he is. He's now 37 years old. He's in his second major semifinal at 37, which is old. Okay, he was at the Wimbledon final at 37 years old. He won an Olympic gold medal in Paris at 37 years old. Roger Federer, who you mentioned, got to 3 semifinals of majors, 37 and up. Rafael Nadal didn't get to any. So Djokovic is a great, great player. This could be his 11th Australian Open. He's got a new coach, Andy Murray. Maybe that's a resuscitation of his career. I have a larger question about why are we anointing Alcaraz all of a sudden? Alcaraz, 21 years old, is a great player. He may be the greatest player ever, but he isn't now. He's got 4 majors. He doesn't have 14 and he doesn't have 24. He beat, if I'm not mistaken, he beat Djokovic twice at Wimbledon on grass. This is not grass, okay? Alcaraz has never won the Australian Open. He's never gotten to the semifinal of the Australian Open. Okay, but I don't know that he's better on this surface at the moment than Djokovic, who continues to be a great player. He continues to be a great player.
The GOAT, Tom.
The fact that I'm not crazy about him doesn't matter.
Annoys me too, but he's a GOAT.
Let's take a break. Coming up, Vic Fangio says Jaden Daniels doesn't play like a rookie. We're going to ask Jeff Saturday what he sees.
We'll also ask him how Patrick Mahomes, leveraging the quarterback protection rules, sits with him. A real tough guy. Jeff Saturday.
What do you think about Connors against Djokovic and the styles that they play? What do you think about that?
I'm a McEnroe Connors guy. You know that. Laver, I am too. But Tone, this guy can play any style at any time. Joker's great.
Let's dig into this week's NFL Conference Championship games with our great friend ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday, appropriately dressed in a tie today, which I like very much. Let's start with this short question. Alex Smith, who you know well. Alex Smith said on the Get Up show on Monday he is concerned about the Eagles' passing game. Are you?
I am not. Listen, I think everybody's argument to me is, well, what if someone shuts the run game down? Okay, well, they may, but if they're going to do that, they're going to contribute everything they got to do that. Because you don't rush for 2,000 plus yards and then 200 yards in playoff games without being able to run the ball extremely well. And so I understand it. I think if they did that, I think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert would have fantastic days. I am not concerned. I think it is a low risk, high reward offense that they continue to run through one of the best offensive lines in football. Why change something when it works? Everybody talks about, is it a weakness? Is all it? Everybody's got weaknesses. We know it, Tony. Ain't nothing going to change in the NFL. It's playing around what you don't do well and playing to your strengths, and that's what the Eagles are doing.
Speaking of the Eagles, their defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, says that Jaden Daniels is a rookie by birth certificate only, not the tape. Jeff, you've seen him a lot now. What are you seeing when the topic is Daniels and his maturity?
First of all, I love Vic. He was my defensive coordinator in Indy, and so he's got some of the best one-liners, and that is true. I would say, though, the thing that separates him is decision-making. Like, you just don't see him get rattled. He doesn't press in moments. He allows the game to come to him, even though it might not be all in his favor, at that exact circumstance. And so I think the most impressive part is it's very simple what they're doing, Mike. Like when you think about the protections for the offensive line, it's very simple. He knows where the problems are coming from, and he just overcomes or adapts to whatever the defense brings to him. So if they're going to bring an overload blitz, he knows it. Beat it with my legs or my arm. I think that's very difficult to replicate, especially for a rookie. But, man, his decision-making has set himself in rare air, in my opinion, for a rookie quarterback.
Jeff is a guy who took real hits every play for more than a decade. How do you feel about these penalty flags that are thrown in favor of Patrick Mahomes if somebody now breathes on him? He seems like he has replaced Tom Brady as the new golden boy for that treatment in the league. But as a guy who took some shots in his time, how do you feel about that?
Man, ain't nothing changed in this game. You know it and I know it. Hey, the superstars go get superstarred. That's just the bottom line. So whether you love it or hate it, they're going for a three-peat. And everybody knows it. And here's the other part that he does extremely well. He invites it a little bit. I'm not mad at him. Use whatever you can to advance your team. If it's another 15 yards because they get hostile and get frustrated or whatever, I totally get it. You hate it when he's not on your team. When he's on your team, you're all for it. So I played with a superstar or two in my day. I ain't mad when they get us an extra 15. A lot less work for me.
Yeah, before we get out of here, I would just add that if you are lumped with Tom Brady, if it's Mahomes and Brady, they've earned that. Their play has earned that over a long period of time. They've earned that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here on this. Buffalo faces the Chiefs again. Over the past few years, the Bills have won these games in the regular season. The Chiefs have won these games in the playoffs. Do you think there's a psychological hurdle out there now for the Bills.
I do, but I'll say it this way because the New England Patriots were our nemesis for a number of years when I was in Indianapolis, and they knocked us out of the AFC Championship game, they knocked us out of a division round, right? And so until you kind of beat them at their own game, it is kind of a hurt. But I think it's the other way as well, Tony. I think as a team that kind of gets that other team, more often than not in the playoffs, you have this confidence that they're going to make a mistake somewhere, and when they do, you're going to take full advantage. So I think it's kind of a both and, right? I think it can be both. They do have a little bit of a hurdle, but I think it's the confidence that the Chiefs have when they play them. And I know as a player, we had teams that just didn't match up well against us and vice versa. And when you wait for that moment and that team makes a mistake, you pounce. And I think that's what they have to overcome. They got to be able to kind of weather the storm and continue to make plays. And when they do, and when they finally make that kind of hurdle, you'll see things kind of open up because they've got it in the regular season. It's about the playoffs, though, that we're talking now.
Thank you, Jeff. As always, pleasure
Thanks,
to have
Jeff.
you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Warriors suffer their worst home loss of the Steve Kerr era.
They got killed. K-I-L-T, killed last night. And
Yeah,
the Dodgers have reportedly landed another pitcher. That's what they do every day.
Look, I want to see the Buffalo-Kansas City game. The Buffalo-Baltimore game was really good. It was really good. Like to see this.
Well, you're going to see it. It's available at a home near you.
I know, people. Happy 85th birthday, Jack Nicklaus. The Golden Bear won more majors than anyone else. He won 18 of them. He won 6 Masters, 5 PGAs, 4 U.S. Opens, 3 British Opens. His closest pursuer is Tiger Woods with 15 majors, and nobody honestly thinks Tiger will win any more majors given his physical limitations. Nicklaus also finished second in 19 majors. Nobody comes close to that. Phil Mickelson has 12. Nicklaus suffered as an up-and-coming champion because he was supplanting the wildly popular Arnold Palmer. Over time, the public warmed to Nicklaus because of the hard-charging way he played, and ultimately, he gained enormous admiration, if not true love.
Tony, I'm looking at some numbers here. Not only does Jack lead Tiger in majors won and runner-ups, 19-7. He leads in top 5 finishes in majors, 56-33. He only missed 6 cuts in majors. Tiger missed 12. Top 3 finishes in majors, Jack 46-26. And tour runner-ups, 57-31. It's just a kill shot. Tiger does lead, to be fair, in tour victories, 82-72. But Jack, man, he owns it. It's Jack.
Happy anniversary, Bruce Pearl. On this day 18 years ago, the then Tennessee basketball coach painted his chest orange, stood in the front row of the student section with his players to show support for Pat Summitt and the Lady Vols. Pearl is now coaching Auburn, and his number 1 Tigers will host number 6 Tennessee on Saturday. Pearl's not without controversy. Twice he's been sanctioned by the NCAA, once at Tennessee, once at Auburn. He's now in his 11th year at Auburn, after 4 at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and 6 at Tennessee. Auburn just beat 2 ranked teams last week, Georgia and Mississippi State. And we at PTI, we like Bruce Pearl.
You know what, Tony? Controversy has followed Bruce, but so has winning. At every stop, he knows how to coach a college basketball team, anywhere.
Happy trails to the Australian Open for Coco Gauff. The number 3 seed fell in straight sets to 11-seeded Paula Badosa. Entering this quarterfinal, Gauff had a winning streak of 13 matches in a row, but never got on track in this one. She logged 41 unforced errors, including 6 double faults, didn't even earn a break point until she was down a set and a break. It's not over for the American women, though, as 2 can make the semis tonight. Madison Keys plays Alina Svitolina, and Emma Navarro tries to upset Iga Swiatek.
Tony, have you been watching the Australian Open? You're awake at hours and crazy hours. You can tune into all the best stuff.
I could. I haven't yet. I could. Omissions. The Bears officially announced Ben Johnson as their new head coach, and the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell have agreed on a multi-year extension. I assume he'll be coach of the year. Let's go to the big finish. The Warriors lost to the Celtics at home by 40. Your thoughts?
The Warriors have a string of people injured, but it's time to make the trade, okay? Warriors, Lakers. How many times I got to say this every day? Time for LeBron to be traded to the Warriors. I mean, let's just do this. Neither one of those teams can do anything as they are now. Bob Nightingale reports the Dodgers have tentatively agreed to terms with free agent closer Kirby Yates. Another pitcher stockpiling, Tony.
Yeah, he had a great year last year, but they just signed Tanner Scott yesterday. How many do they need? How many closers do they need? NHL suspended Connor McDavid of the Oilers and Tyler Myers for the Canucks. 3 games apiece for cross-checks to the head the other night. Does that make sense?
You know, he's been suspended once, McDavid, and that was 6 years ago. You can't cross-check to the head. Now, you can get away with a lot of stuff, not that. TGL back tonight. I bet you're going to watch, aren't you?
I am going to watch. Justin Thomas is on, and I know he's chatty, and your boy Matty Fitz is on. Last one, Baseball Hall of Fame announcements at 6. Are you excited?
I am, Tony. Sabathia, Carlos Beltran, Billy Wagner, all in play. They're maybes. Ichiro's the only surefire. The question is whether it will be unanimous. Ichiro.
Bigsby, he's a great player. We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts.
The new college playoff worked out.
Not particularly, Tony. I mean, everybody wants to jump to the end because there was a really good quarter plus last night. I certainly enjoyed that. In 2 schools I've been watching all my life, and that part was sort of rewarding. But there were just blowout after blowout early in it. 12 teams is too many. I do like what happened in the regular season. The regular season, there seemed to be urgency and even a sense of desperation, like week after week, as teams thought, oh my God, I can't lose 2 and get in. And so even the Blue Bloods, really, the regular season was not threatened by the 12-team playoff.
Right.
The playoff was threatened by the 12-team playoff. So there's all this overstatement and hype about how great it was. It wasn't great. It should be 8 teams. They're never going back to 8. They can't reseed. They're not going to make those changes now. 2026 is the earliest any adjustment will be made. That's too bad. It was all right. It was all right. I ain't going any further than that.
Thank you, Mr. Sunshine. I didn't want 12. I can now live with 12. I didn't like the seedings at all. I don't think you should automatically take conference champions and seed them that high. I mean, I don't think that. I don't think that worked out. I thought, I think they're going to have to change that. And be honest with you, Mike, the whole process took days and weeks, and it seemed like months. I think it's too long. I think they would have started a little bit earlier and ended a little bit earlier. But I'm happy with this. We got a worthy champion. Ohio State, in the course of this season, they beat number 1 Oregon. They beat number 1 Texas. They beat number 3 Penn State. They beat number 4 Tennessee. They beat number 5 Notre Dame, and Indiana was number 5 when they beat them. That's 6 top 5 wins. That makes you a worthy champion. So to me, that balances out all the issues that people have, because at least we got the team where you'd say, legit. That's legit,
Tony,
Holmes.
A worthy champion in a worthy game. Again, I agree with you there. But, Tony, college kids shouldn't be playing that many games. And they wanted to go forever. I mean, every sport now wants to dominate your thought process year-round. And so the Super Bowl, that's why they're going to go till President's Day. They would go to Easter if they thought they could get away with it. And college football is going to go and go and go until it gets to the end of January. So they're not going to start it earlier, and they're not going to end it earlier, and that's part of my issue. Can you get off the stage? Can I watch this kid at Duke play some college basketball, please? Get out of here. That's it. We're done. Back to you.
That was good. That was good.